Good day, grade 9s. Somebody asked me to explain isotopes, so that is what this video session is about. Firstly, I want us to look at definitions before we discuss isotopes. There are two numbers that are used to explain or to describe the atomic structure. When you look at the element in the periodic table, there are two numbers that are used to describe the element. The one is called the atomic number. The symbol of the atomic number is a Z, and it is usually the smallest of the two. The second number is the mass number. The symbol is an A, and it is usually the larger of the two. An example would be oxygen. Now, to use the standard notation, oxygen 16(8). The 8 is the atomic number, and the 16 is the mass number. Now, these numbers give us essential information on the atoms. The Z tells us how many protons in the nucleus of the atom. So oxygen's got 8 protons. The atomic number gives us the number of nucleons. Those are the protons plus the neutrons in the nucleus. Of the atom. Now, scientists have discovered that atoms of an element can have different numbers of neutrons in the nucleus, so the mass number will change, but atoms of an element can only have a specific number of protons in the element. So that is where isotopes come in. So the first example we're going to look at is hydrogen. There are 3 isotopes. Of hydrogen. They are hydrogen 1, meaning that this is the mass number. Hydrogen 2, where 2 is the mass number, and hydrogen 3. Where the 3 is the mass number. So if we write these in standard notation, hydrogen 1 would be H, with mass number 1 and atomic number 1. Hydrogen's atoms can only have an atomic number of 1. Hydrogen 2 is H with a 2 for the mass number, and it can only have an atomic number of 1. And hydrogen 3 has a mass number of 3 and an atomic number of 1. So the meaning of this, it tells you that there will be 1 proton in the nucleus of this atom, 1 proton in the nucleus of this atom, and 1 proton in the nucleus of this atom. Now, to just jump to the electrons, for every positive proton there is 1 negative electron if the atom is neutral. The number of positives must be equal to the number of negatives. So E negative is the symbol of the electron. So for hydrogen, any of the atoms of hydrogen will have 1 proton and 1 electron if it's neutral. Then we get to the atomic number. Now, the atomic number is the number of protons plus the number of neutrons. So if the atomic number of hydrogen 1 is 1 and it's got 1 proton, how many neutrons will there be in this atom? There will be no neutrons. So this atom of hydrogen 1 has 0 neutrons. Neutrons have no charge. In this atom of hydrogen, the mass number is the number of protons plus the number of neutrons. So if you've got 2 as a mass number, you have only 1 proton. How many neutrons do you have? You have 1 neutron. So here we have 1 neutron. In the next one, hydrogen 3, the mass number is the number of protons plus the number of neutrons. So if the mass number is 3, the number of protons is 1. How many neutrons are there? There will be 2 neutrons. So this atom will have 2 neutral particles. The next example we are looking at is magnesium. So we have isotopes or atoms of the same element with different numbers of neutrons. Magnesium also has 3 isotopes. You get magnesium 24, magnesium 25, and magnesium 26. So the atomic number of magnesium is 12. So in the standard notation, Mg, 12, 24 is the mass number, Mg, 12 is the atomic number, 25 the mass number of this isotope, and Mg, 12, 26. The information we get from this is that there are 12 protons in this atom's nucleus, 12 protons in this atom's nucleus, 12 protons in this atom's nucleus. So the number of protons in the atoms of an element will always be the same. Doesn't matter which isotope we are looking at. And because atoms are naturally neutral, there will be 12 electrons in the energy levels of each of these atoms. But electrons are like 2,000 times lighter than a proton, so they do not contribute to the mass number. The mass number is always the protons plus the neutrons. So if the mass number is 24 here and the protons is 12, how many neutrons do we have here? We have 12 neutrons, because 12 plus 12 equals 24. Now this is actually really simple mathematics. The mass number is the number of protons plus the number of neutrons. If the mass number is 25 and the number of protons is 12 for magnesium, then the number of neutrons would be 13 in magnesium 25. 13 neutrons. And if we look at the last one, we can say that, skipping all the mathematical steps, there will be 14 neutrons, because 14 neutrons and 12 protons will give you a mass number of 26. Last one we go to is the isotopes of chlorine. There are two isotopes of chlorine. Chlorine 35 and chlorine 37. So chlorine's got how many protons? 17 protons. And the mass number for this isotope is 35. Chlorine atoms will always have 17 protons. There are only atoms that will have 17 protons, and 37 is the mass number. So this isotope of chlorine will have 17 protons. That one will have 17 protons. The number of electrons in the neutral atom of chlorine is 17 and 17, because for each positive there must be one negative. Now the number of neutrons is always atomic number, protons plus neutrons. So if the atomic number is 35 and the protons is 17, then the neutrons must be yes, you're right, 18 neutrons. Lastly, mass number is number of protons plus number of neutrons. So if it is 37, there would be only 17 protons, so the number of neutrons would be 20. I hope this helps you to understand isotopes.